Hello everyone, welcome back to the Elbis and Elbis World Class Podcast. I'm joined here with Elbis.
Right, pal.
And this week it's episode 2. Obviously last week it was episode 1.
Or pilot.
Sorry, 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
We left you hanging for a week. So highly anticipated this episode. Obviously the success of the pilot.
It was successful. It was perhaps the greatest first podcast I've ever listened to.
I'd agree with that.
I went back and I listened to sort of Joe Rogan's first ever podcast that I could find. Yeah. Not real good.
Yeah.
So,
and I listened to it. Well, we listen to ours, not a lot. We don't listen to it like loads and that.
Oh no.
Only like 6 times or something. And then I think it just gets better every time. That's the beauty of it. I mean, looking at the stats.
Yeah. Well, you've been keeping an eye on the stats.
Yeah. Obviously, I do. I'm a stat man. Been keeping an eye on all the stats, and that seems to have gone down well.
What kind of numbers are we looking at?
Well, just like good numbers.
I noticed we got a bit of a, well, I would call it a review in a way, a comment on YouTube, which I really appreciated to whoever left that. And it was interesting because they said something. Yeah. They said something which most people would say in 2 words. They said it in 3 because they put great podcast.
Yeah.
And that was good.
I mean, I thought it was a good comment, but maybe put together a bit better.
Yeah,
possibly
a little bit more verbose than it had to be.
Yeah. I mean, the 3 words seems more effort to me, but if that's what you want to do, whoever commented there, and thanks for that.
Yeah.
And the people who are watching it who didn't comment, leave a comment. Let us know what you think.
We didn't get any dislikes, did we? Which I was surprised about.
I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I thought I wasn't surprised. A couple of dislikes, but yeah, that was good.
Well, I mean, maybe
3 likes, I think it was. No dislikes.
I mean, the thing was, I think the reason why we didn't get any dislikes is because we keep our podcast non-controversial.
Yes, for now.
Yeah, for now. Yeah. We don't want to.
My big takeaway from the pilot episode was I've discovered at this late stage in my life that I have trouble rolling my R's with the Woobies comment.
Yeah. That was
embarrassing. So I just want to do this because I think I can roll my R's when I'm speaking slowly. So I'm going to say red rabbit reads. And then if I listen to this back and I can't do it, then I've got a speech impediment.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't want to sound harsh at all, but that was pretty embarrassing.
It was bad, wasn't it? Yeah.
I mean, listening to it back.
It was bad. It's when I get excited, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously doing this podcast, it is exciting. But, I mean, as I was saying to you earlier, it's like when I do this podcast, I'm sort of like, if you imagine like Iron Man, right? So like Iron Man, he's like Tony Stark. I know he's like a billionaire and that.
Yeah.
And he's like a no one. You know what I mean? Well, he's not a no one because he's a billionaire, but he's like he don't really have any powers.
Loads of chicks and that.
Yeah, but he don't really have any powers.
I would take being Tony Stark even if he wasn't Iron Man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would actually, but like he don't really have any powers at all. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to fight.
He's a genius.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, but I mean,
some might say that's the finest power of all, being a genius.
But what I mean is, he's not going to be.
Would you rather be super strong or a genius? Probably a genius.
Actually, we had a similar chat last week with the what would you be in the sea? You chose strength and power.
Yeah.
Over, I mean, I was like, you said
does have a lot of intelligence.
But I went with shark. But what I said was about a dolphin.
Yeah, well, an orca is just as intelligent as a dolphin, if not more. Anyway, we covered that last week.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. We're going over real ground. But anyway, as I was saying, look, the thing is, I think I'm a bit like Tony.
2 weeks ago, anyway.
Yeah, 2 weeks. It feels like a week. It feels like a matter of days, to be honest.
Well, like my life, life is now something I do in between podcasts.
I'd agree. I'd say this is life.
Yeah.
And what happens in between is just time making it. You're just making up time.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I was saying with the Tony Stark thing.
Oh yeah.
What I want to say is that, like, I think doing this, it's like out of a podcast, I'm like got no power. Do you know what I mean? So
you walk around every day and people look at you and just think you're a normal person.
Yeah. And then once I click record, it's like a suit comes over me.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I can like fight. Thanos, whatever he's called.
I don't know. I don't watch superhero.
He's that big purple one.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I mean, that's just how I see podcasting now. I think it's ultimately become it's not. I mean, I don't want to go on about how good we are because that's everyone.
What is interesting though, going back to the stats, I noticed we've got something like 4 or 5 Twitter followers now. It's interesting how every single one of them is a podcast coach.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'd like to think maybe they want us to join their team and help other people out to podcast.
Well, yeah, us to become coaches, probably. Yeah. Because I can't see. They don't want to coach us, do they?
Well, obviously not. This is polished.
This is yeah. I mean, I mean, a little insight to the Elbis and Elbis world class podcast is that we don't have all the new equipment.
No, we don't need it.
But we don't need it, and I guarantee these coaches will come along and be like, "Oh yeah, get that equipment because you need it." You don't.
We have been discussing about upgrading to a Podomatic Pro account, haven't we?
Yeah, that's true.
Which I think you've got to back yourself and make a major investment.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
£9 a month probably worth doing.
Well, I mean, like 2 weeks ago, we was like newcomers, like new on the block. It's a bit like Oasis in a way. I think like when Oasis first came about, everyone was like, "Yeah, what are these?" Well, now we've like released the first podcast, which is like a Live Forever.
Yeah,
and we're just going to keep on releasing like a Stand By Me and a.
Who would be Nolan? Who would be Liam? I think I'd probably be Nolan.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything unfortunate about that.
He's all right, but I mean, I'd rather be Liam, but I think I'm more like Noel.
I think you're probably more built like Noel.
What was that supposed to mean? Noel's not out of shape.
No, I don't think that.
And neither am I.
Just like your height and that.
Well, I don't think there's much between them, to be honest.
Yeah, but if someone said,
we're going to go into height and that, you're more like Stephen Merchant.
Yeah, but I don't have like
big
weird eyes.
Freak. Yeah. Anyway, let's.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we'll get a bit of a tangent there, but I mean, yeah, we're 2 weeks ago. We was newcomers. We've sort of learned the system now. We've learned Podomatic. We now know that I think you can comment on this now. I had a look. You can comment on this. So if you're listening on Podomatic, for whatever reason, you might think,
might be an idea to go to Dream Vision soon.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're listening on that,
dreading Dream Vision, to be quite honest. After last week, what you said, but
I thought it was a good one. But yeah, you know what? I think without further ado, time for the first segment of episode 2 of the Elbis and Elbis.
We better tell people, just in case they're like wondering what's coming today. It's exactly the same as last week.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's copy and paste. It's copy and paste.
Dream Vision. Yeah. Then we've got SharkFace, episode 2. Now, what I'd like to say about that before we do it is it's a very short episode this week, and we don't want people to think, they couldn't be bothered to write anything, because that's not true.
No, it's all been written.
If they were film writers like us, then they'd probably understand that sometimes you need a short crap episode as a plot device to get you from A to B, and that's what we've got this week. Next week it's going to be epic.
If anything, this SharkFace episode this week will just set up.
Yeah, it's going to set up next week.
The next episode.
Next week's is going to be a long one.
Yeah. So, without further ado, anyway, the first segment of episode 2 of the Elbis and Elbis World Class Podcast, Dream or Vision.
Don't you wonder sometimes if it's a dream or a vision?
The intro there just gets even better every time, I think. For Dream or Vision. Now straight into it. I started last week with my Dream or Vision.
You start this week, because if it's out like last week's, it's not going to be appropriate, and so we'll finish on mine, which usually is.
Well,
actually,
I think you'll find my Dream or Vision this week is appropriate. I think it's a great one. Actually, I think it'll be quite interesting.
Go on, you go.
Well, so it actually came to me last week. I was just having a sleep and that, and anyway, in my dream or vision, I had this thing where it was like I was with like some people I knew, right?
Right.
But we was like in a shopping centre.
Mm.
I goes to the top floor, but there's like people like like all right, Elbis, like what you doing in that, and like like I'm a celebrity. I'm thinking, oh, how come everyone like knows me now?
Now this could be a vision because when this podcast takes off, already I'm saying it could be a vision.
Mean?
Yeah.
See, straight away I've got you in here.
Mm.
Then anyway,
sounds more appropriate. Than last week's
yeah.
already.
I think it is. I get to the top floor, film crew there.
Oh yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
He stood there.
Yeah.
He walks over. He's like, "Oh, all right, Harrison. Hey, Elvis.
Yeah.
All right, Elvis." And he's like, "Oh, what are you doing in that?" I was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm just here." He's like, "Oh, yeah, you ready to film?" I'm thinking, "Hang on a minute. What do you mean? Am I ready to film?" Turns out I'm an actor in this film.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm behind the camera with Leo. Who featured last week in the podcast,
heavily.
Actually. With,
the
film review. Go check it out if you haven't listened already.
Yeah.
And Leo's like, oh, yeah, he stood in his spot on that. The director's like, right, action. Now, I didn't know the script.
Right.
Didn't know the character I was playing.
Yeah.
But I sort of did, in a way.
Right.
And that's what I didn't get. I was playing a character that I didn't know, but I got. Does that make sense?
No.
I knew sort of the type of character I was playing.
Right.
And I knew it was based on a real life character. So anyway, I did this scene with Leo. The direct, and it was quite a shouty scene. I'm like shouting. We're shouting at each other. Bit emotional.
Yeah.
I had to find my full range. And the director's like, oh, cut. Everyone starts clapping.
Yeah.
Like a round of applause.
In the shopping centre still?
No, this is like in the top floor of it, but obviously it's been cut off because we're filming, so there can't be anyone like walking about.
It's weird. I find in dreams or visions sometimes where you're in one place and then you're just in another.
Sometimes
as well. I always have this when it's in a dream or a vision. Sometimes I dream of my mum's house, right?
Yeah.
But it's not my mum's house, but it's always the same house in the dream or vision.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, there, it's always the same place. Yeah. But it's not what it is in real life, but it's always the same place in the dream or vision.
Well, I mean, man, I've never seen this place before. And anyway, I finished this scene, and everyone's clapping and that. The director is like, yeah, brilliant. And this guy comes up to me anyway, and he was like quite an old guy, right? But
that's weird because that links into my dream or vision. What I'm going to say.
Well, he was American.
So was this guy, man?
And his voice, I'd never seen him before. And his voice was like, well, his accent was like New York.
No way, this is real weird. And for the listeners, we have not collaborated.
Well, no.
We don't collaborate.
I don't, to be honest, I don't know what he's on about.
This is weird.
I don't know what Elbis is on about.
Carry on.
I don't know what Elbis is on about. We have not collaborated.
This is weird. Go on.
So this old guy from New York, I've never seen before.
Really seriously.
He comes up to me and he's like, he shakes my hand and he's like giving me like a pat on the shoulder and he's going, oh, Elbis, you play the part really well. The part's made for you. You know, you're a brilliant actor and, you know, you just, I can't think of anyone else who could play this role except from you.
Except for you.
Well, yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
And, you know, anyway, I shook his hand and that and I was like, oh, yeah, thanks, mate. You know, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Anyway, he walked off.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I wonder who he was. And I remember, like, in the dream thinking, don't know him. Where's he come from?
Yeah.
But then it got me thinking. I actually thought about the old dream as well. I thought, now, I didn't know the script, but I got through the scene. And I got every word right. I didn't recognise anyone.
Yeah,
I didn't recognise the guy
talking in the dream.
Yeah, it was a full scene. It was a full scene with Leo. I remember talking.
Did you try and remember any of the words that you said? Because this is like the advice I've given you. You've got to try and take notice of details.
It's hard to remember a full dream.
Yeah, but you've got to try.
I thought I remembered a lot of this. I mean, I do. Because I was there. I mean, I remember at the top of the shopping centre with Leo doing the film, doing the scene, and you know, we had a good time and that. And it was like I didn't know the words in the script, but it just came to me. And I didn't know I was playing, but I did because it was like I knew it was like a biopic, and I knew sort of the type of character I was playing. And then I thought it wasn't just the old guy who was there. There was like quite a lot of people around, actual faces, and actual people who talked to me. Who I've never seen before in my life.
Yeah.
Where have these people come from? Now I know I know what you're going to say, yeah, probably. And I say like people who like crop up in your dreams sometimes can just be like people who you see in Asda. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it could have been. Have you ever seen that website you can go
But
to?
I've never seen a guy in Asda who's from New York.
No, but there's this website you can go to, and it's called something like "I Do Not Exist," right? And what it is, you go to it and you like click on the thing, and it's like a computer generates a person, just a random face, right? So I reckon your dream might be like that.
Now this old guy, I mean, you've just said it's weird.
Have you been, especially when you hear man, what I've got this week? It is weird.
So you've actually had this a person with the same description of character to this guy,
sort of, and the New York thing ties in. But I'm going for a classic. I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you about mine in a bit. I mean, so what are the key points you'd like to make about this?
The key points is
first of all, let's say, is it a dream or a vision? I would actually, it could be a vision because if you got famous, it could be something to do with that.
I think it could be. I don't. I think. I mean, I will. What I want from this dream or vision is. I've wrote 3 questions basically. Okay, that's the way I identify dream as one being eligible for the podcast.
What's your 3 questions?
I wrote down 3 questions that made me ask, and the 3 questions was: how did I know the words in the script? How come I never recognised who I was playing? And who was all the people?
Right.
So they're the questions.
Who is all the people thing? I'll start with first because that's very much like your shambles from last week. What you came up with. I think the big problem with you is that you're of the generation where you've like grown up playing computer games and that all the time, and so it's like you know, like if you play that Red Dead Redemption or something online, then you're always like thinking, oh, is that like a character played by the computer, or is that somebody else actually on the other side?
What would someone from Red Dead be there for? He's like from 1911 and that. What would they be there for?
Well, they wouldn't be in your dream, would they? I'm on about you're constantly wondering who's controlling the characters in your dream. That's what you do. You just like observe your dream and you like think who's controlling him.
But I think that's interesting. Who's not? No, it's not.
It's quite interesting.
It's not who's controlling him. It's like
I look at like a painting. You see, I look at mine and then try and.
But who painted
it? No. But it's just I try and get the meaning from my dream.
But who painted it though? That's what you might look at. You might if you paint your dream,
interpret it from the universe.
So if you look at your dream like a painting, you obviously look at what's in the painting. I look at who painted it.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
I think we take dream and vision differently. I think we look at it differently.
Yeah, no,
I think this is interesting. I think it's interesting because when you have a dream, now people say, or a vision, people say, oh, it's your consciousness and that. How if it's my consciousness, surely I'd know all these people. I'd recognise them at least. And I didn't. I've never seen anyone before. I'm meeting new people in my dream. How's that happening? What vision? Now, if it's a vision, I might meet some of these people later on in life. Now, this is why I think it possibly could be a vision. Because I think I might meet an old guy from New York.
Well, let's go on to mine now.
Years. Well, I mean, before we go on to yours, we'll ask the question, is it a dream or vision? What do you think?
I think it's a dream, and I think it's a pretty run-of-the-mill dream, if I'm honest.
I think it's...
Now, when I get to man is more interesting than this. But
well, I mean, it's not competition.
It does link in, though, and you'll see how it links in. You see, I've gone for a classic.
What's yours?
Because... with mine, what happened was I've had a lot of visions, I think, this week, but they're controversial. All of them are controversial.
Yeah, well, you see,
and we're having no controversy in this first season, are we? We might have like season 4 or something where we actually concentrate on controversy, but not in season 1. So in a way, I haven't got anything. But what I did is Well, no, this is a classic.
Mm.
This is a classic. What I noted down, and I can tell you the date I had it. May the 12th this year, 2020. May the 12th. I had this dream or vision. I think it might be a vision. And what happened was, and this is where it gets weird. Listen to this. I was like dreaming in bed, and it was all black. Everything was black, right?
Is it because it was night?
No. In the dream, everything was black.
Oh, right.
And in the distance, little old fella. Do you see what I mean?
What?
Yeah. Little old fella starts walking towards me. American.
And what's his height? What's his height? What's his height like?
Pretty short.
That's weird. That is weird.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. It's the same.
And he starts walking towards me.
What did he have on? Can you remember what he was wearing?
No, not really. Not really.
Man had like
possibly a cardi.
The guy had mine. He had a long sleeve shirt on, and it was like a what's the colour called? Like a maroon. Maroon.
Yeah, I'm not real good with colours. Is that like a brown?
Yeah, like a browny purple.
I can't really remember the colours. And some people say you don't have colours in your dream, don't they? But I'm pretty sure you do.
Well, I think you do. I've remembered
that could be a distinction between a dream or a vision. Maybe dreams are in black and white and visions are in colour.
I don't think I've ever had a dream in black and white.
I don't know.
Unless that means I have visions all the time. But that's weird. If you have visions all the time.
Anyway, this old geezer, he was walking towards me.
Aye.
And I thought, what's going on here? Yeah. And he started singing. And he was singing, and he was like dancing real slow, like, like jazz hands type thing.
Yeah.
And he was going, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. And I thought, it's not my birthday. Not my birthday for months, right? And he started walking towards me real slow, doing this weird jazz hands thing, getting closer and closer constantly. And I thought, it's not my birthday, but I'm not going to have a go at him because you don't want to have a go at old people, do you?
No, not really. I like them.
Yeah, I do. And he got close, and it was like, happy birthday. And this is weird. He goes, happy birthday, Frank Sinatra. And he turned round to his right, and to my left, and I looked up, and he looked up, and there was a portrait on the wall of Frank Sinatra. Now, this is where it's weird, because what did he say? New York.
New York. Oh, New York, yeah.
Really weird, isn't it? Yeah, New York. And he looked up, and that was like the end of it. And I woke up probably about 4 a.m. or something, and I was like, that was weird.
Yeah.
So I grabbed my phone next to the bed. I always keep it there in airplane mode, but switch it off that. Phone, Google Frank Sinatra, and I thought, if it's his birthday on the 12th of May,
no,
that is well weird.
Yeah.
So I looked up Frank Sinatra, born 14th of December or something. It was somewhere in December. So I was like, well, that's a bit crap. So clearly a dream.
So what did it mean?
Anyhow, no, listen though. I finished. Oh. And underneath that, it said, died 14th of May. This was the 12th of May. This was the 12th of May, 14th of May. And I looked at it, and I just went, Jesus. That's pretty near, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like 2 days, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but listen. And I mean, I don't know anything about Frank Sinatra. You can verify that, can't you?
No.
You've never heard me speak about him or anything, have you?
I've listened to I've seen you listen to a few of his songs and that, I think, but on the odd occasion. Not like out of you, like just put it on for someone else, really.
I like That's Life.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's about the only one I'd ever
That's because of Joker.
Yeah. And this was probably before I watched Joker, I can't remember. No, it wasn't. I'd seen Joker first.
No, I don't think it would have been.
No, 12th of May. I watched Joker on the plane.
I think Joker was out last year.
In the year. Anyway, yeah. So what had happened was, I forgot what I was saying now. Oh yeah, he died like 14th of May.
Right.
And now I found out a few things about Frank Sinatra. Did you know that he was like really involved in the mafia and that?
I've heard something about that.
You ever seen the film The Godfather?
I didn't know.
This is why you're a top film critic, you see. A film critic that's never seen The Godfather.
Yeah, but...
film. It's a good film.
Yeah, but you can only watch films that are available to you. That's never been available.
It's a long film.
It's about 3 hours. 3 hours in it, I've heard about it.
Anyway...
That's the one where, there's like the horse in the bed, didn't we?
Yeah, well, that's the bit I was just going to tell you about, because...
Well, that's weird.
Did you know, right, that the bit with the horse's head in the bed, that supposedly is based on a true story, and it's Frank Sinatra was like, oh, yeah, I'd like to be in this film.
Yeah.
And so he said to his mates in the mafia, He says, "Oh, sort us out, rolling this film, will we?" And I was like, "Yeah, no problem, Frank." So they goes to this director, and was like, "Oh, you know that film you're making? Perfect person for it, Frank Sinatra." And the director was like, "Well, he's a good singer, but I want an actor." And I was like, "Well, yeah, an actor can do all sorts." And he was like, "Nah." And was like, "Oh, all right, you might regret that." Killed his horse, stuck the head in the bed, right? And then that's where they got the story from in The Godfather.
Right.
So he was hanging about with some dodgy geezers, clearly.
Yeah.
Now, because my vision, or dream, but I think it was a vision, happened a couple of days, before his official date of death.
Yeah.
Well, what if something dodgy happened, around his death,
Right.
and they moved the date of his death by a couple of days, to give someone an alibi or something like that? And so what I'm thinking is I watched. Have you seen The Sixth Sense?
I hadn't seen it, but it's Bruce Willis in it.
Yeah, have you seen it?
And the kid.
Do you know what happens at the end?
Yeah, that's why I didn't watch it.
Yeah,
you know what happens.
Yeah, if you know what happens at the end.
Yeah, because he's a ghost all along, isn't he?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
But everybody probably knows.
I knew it before I watched it. Somebody had told me, "Oh, watch this film; it's real good. He's a ghost at the end."
And then I watched it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of our films we write have twists, but we try and make it entertaining. The rest of the
imagine how annoying that'd be though if I came to you like every time I'd be like, "Oh, watch this film. This is the ending."
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I can't remember who it was. It was
the ending
at college or something. Yeah. But he's not my mate now.
Well, yeah, it won't be mine either.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
But yeah, anyway, there's this bit in The Sixth Sense, right? And so the kid sees dead people.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, because he says like, "I see dead people."
Yeah, and Bruce Willis, before he's a ghost, he goes to him. "Oh, I know what you can do. Listen to him." So he starts listening to him, and there's this little lass ghost who comes to him, and she's being sick and all that.
Right.
And anyway, he listens to her, and what she does, he goes to a funeral, and she's giving him directions. He goes to the funeral, and he gets evidence at the funeral that her mother's been poisoning her, and her mother killed her, right? And so what I'm saying is this old man, something dodgy might have gone on with Frank Sinatra's death. And this old man
is giving you evidence.
He's giving me evidence to release to the world.
But what would you want it for?
Well, I thought about that as well, and I thought, if this old man's giving me clues and saying somebody investigate Frank Sinatra's death, you might say, why don't you just go to like Joe Rogan or somebody, who's got a podcast where people actually listen to? Well, then when you think about it...
And I'd probably go to the police as well.
Well, no, because how can he go to the police? He's in the dream world or ghost world.
Yeah, but just like give it to like...
It's not publicity.
Come into like a policeman's dream.
But you remember like how I proved, and this could be something, we'll demonstrate on a future podcast, I proved that time isn't linear.
Yeah.
I reckon in the ghost world or dream world, they can probably see that anyway. So this old man, he's probably thought, I could go to Joe Rogan, give him the information.
But so do you think you're not the only person who's had this information?
No, I think it probably is exclusive. But I think that Joe Rogan would get the dream, right, on the 12th of May.
Right.
And then the next day he's interviewing someone like Steven Tyler from Aerosmith and he'd completely forget it. Whereas me, I've got very little going on in my life, so I've held on to it until this opportunity. And then when this podcast gets massive, everyone will be looking back and going, "Oh, yeah, we should investigate Frank Sinatra's death, probably."
So your dream or vision was?
This old man, yeah.
Your old man has told you...
Well, my old man.
Well, not your old man, but this old man in your dream. But how come, if this old man is the same old man, which I don't think it is now, how come he didn't tell me about Frank Sinatra and that?
Well, I don't know.
Why you? That's what I'm saying.
I've just explained why me. Because I'd remember it and write it down. Well, I didn't write it down, but I remembered it on the 12th of May. And now I'm releasing it to the world. Investigate Frank Sinatra's death. That's what I'm saying. But that's controversial.
Borderline controversial.
And I don't want to get in any trouble with the mafia either, I suppose.
Yeah. And I didn't say it, so if there is any trouble, it won't. It
was Elbis.
It was Elbis. It wasn't Elbis. Yeah. It was Elbis. It wasn't Elbis. So don't.
Anyway, I think that probably does that cover Dream or Vision.
I think that concludes Dream or Vision.
I think we'll say as a conclusion
for your Dream or Vision.
I think yours was a dream, mine was a vision.
Good segment for Dream or Vision there. For episode 2 of the Elbis and Elbis Wild Class Podcast.
We're doing outro now, don't we?
Go for it.
Yeah.
wonder sometimes if it's a dream or a vision. Well, everyone, that was Dream or Vision in episode 2. Now it's time for the continuation of SharkFace. Obviously, last week, 2 weeks ago now, we premiered the start of SharkFace. I'm hoping it went down really well. Due to the figures, it obviously did.
Nobody complained about it anyway.
Definitely not. I mean, why would you?
I think I would recommend that you go back to episode 1.
Yeah, definitely.
If you haven't heard it.
Yeah, I think in fact, I'll pause this now. If you haven't heard the first episode of SharkFace, which will be on the pilot of the World Class podcast, go listen to that and then come back once you've listened to that and then listen to this. It's only a short one this week.
It is. Do you think we should give him a very brief synopsis?
Yeah, I think so. So far in SharkFace,
there's these two brothers.
Yeah, I'll let you give the synopsis.
Well, there was these two brothers, Pete and Tony Lancaster, and there was like explorers, and they went to this desert island off the coast of Miami to go find a relic of the Sea King. Yeah. And they found it, and then when they did, they got attacked by this thing, which was like a bloke with an head of a shark. Yeah, and it was like, some woobies as well. There was some woobies, there was some woobies.
But I think, with that synopsis, they just actually, once after all that had happened, they come off the island, and now they're back.
Well, they're on the way home. They're not back yet.
Oh, right, they're getting back then. But yeah, so let's go into episode 2 of SharkFace.
As our heroes slowly drift into the Miami shore, Pete stares at his cell phone, waiting for some kind of a signal to return. A single bar appearing, then disappearing, in perfect synchronization with the bobbing of the boat. Finally, 2 bars. Pete hits speed dial for Phoebe Hardcastle, an attractive freelance reporter who profiled Pete for Life magazine shortly after he found the Holy Grail. Let's just say their relationship has not always been strictly professional.
Do you have it, Pete? Do you have the relic?
Says Phoebe.
I got a lot more than that, baby. Call the press conference now, and you get an exclusive afterwards. You also get an interview if you want it.
Pete chuckles, high-fiving the smiling Tony. Convinced the gutter press would take their word for the amazing events which had unfolded, and feeling confident that funding was secure for further research into this paranormal phenomenon, the pain Pete experienced as a result of a severed neck paled in comparison to the reception of the press conference. The room filled with laughter at their tales, their reputation destroyed. The mocking headlines soon followed.
Cheap and phony Lancaster.
They were dubbed by the UK's Sunday Sport.
Get your cheating phony Lancaster Sunday Sport, 2 for £1.
Of course, such heavy criticism drove an ever-widening chasm between the beleaguered brothers. What if Tony hadn't rushed in? What if Pete hadn't gotten sloppy? In the months that followed, the commissions dried up and the partnership dissolved. Pete found solace at the bottom of a bottle, whilst Tony used the remaining lab equipment and his science expertise to make and distribute substandard crystal meth to the Miami underworld. Any chance of reconciliation was ended once and for all 3 years later when Pete awoke from another drunken blackout to hear the news that his much-loved brother was found dead down a dark alleyway with horrific injuries. The last number dialed on his phone was Pete's. Had it not been for the drink, he might have been able to save him. Pete's misery was complete.
Well, everyone, that was episode 2 of SharkFace. Obviously, you've probably noticed that was quite a short one.
I'm not going to apologise for that, though, because it's essential.
I won't. Definitely not. It is essential. It's an essential part of the story. And if you don't like it, well, that's it.
But for SharkFace fans, you've got a treat next week because it's long.
Yeah.
And it's complicated.
Yeah, and that's why we sort of wanted to get a short one done. Yeah. And then next week we can hit you hard with a long one. So, I mean, let us know how you're finding SharkFace so far. I mean, obviously, I'm gripped. We really, but I'm even still gripped. So, let us know what you're thinking. Where do you think the story could go from where we are? Where do you think Pete could end up? Obviously, the ending.
It's sort of, in a way, it's kind of like already told a story in a way.
Yeah. I mean, obviously a huge moment.
Lesser writers than us would probably make that season 1.
Even though it was 3 minutes, a huge moment. Tony, obviously, appears to be murdered. So
dead.
Gone. So, obviously a huge moment there. Where do you see the story going. Anyway,
very popular segment from last week was the
film of the week.
TV.
And as we said earlier, it's a copy and paste. We're going for the same again. So straight into film of the week. Yeah. Would you like me to start, Elbis, or are you going?
No, it's all right. I think I'll start this week.
Go for it. Yeah.
And
what's your film of the week?
Well, as I said last time, really, I haven't watched any films except Sixth Sense, which I mentioned earlier. I did watch that, but it's not worth reviewing that.
Yeah, everyone's seen it.
But I was a bit angry actually this week. The last 2 weeks because I was. It's because at the end of the last podcast, I found something which I really wanted to review. It was a series, and it was bloody awful, quite honestly. And so I spent a lot of time on it. I based, made some notes and things.
So this isn't really. Are you going to review this now?
No. Well, what I've decided is I was just going to get to that. What I did is I made some really brief notes on it, and I feel that it's our duty to warn our millions of fans if we find something that is absolutely terrible.
I'd agree.
And I have. So I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it in just a couple of minutes, and I'll basically read the notes that I made. Right. But then I stumbled across something that was absolutely brilliant, and you'll love it. I know that for a fact. Okay. So I just stumbled across it. And how I sort of think the universe gives me signals about what I should do.
Yeah, sort of point you in the right direction.
There's a lot of things that pointed me in this direction, which I'll get to a bit later on.
Interesting.
But the first one it's called Reckoning.
Right.
And it was on Netflix, and it kept coming up, recommended for you.
And this is a series then?
Yes, it is, terrible series. Oh. And it kept coming up.
Yeah.
And so I looked into it, and I thought, now this will sound all right to you. Serial killer.
Sounds all right.
Sounds good, doesn't it? Yeah. That's what I thought. Now, so when you're looking at a program or a film where there's a serial killer in it, there's a few things that I look for. First of all, murders. You want some murders, don't you?
Well, yeah. If it's about a serial killer, I'm guessing it's going to be about murder, isn't it?
Second of all, you want your serial killer to have a bit of a gimmick, good gimmick.
If there's no murder, it's not a serial killer.
Well, I'll get to it. Right. Serial killer, you want him to have a bit of a gimmick, he'll maybe eat.
Yeah. Like he'll leave. I mean, obviously, we'll have film writing and script writing. Obviously, he wants to leave take something like a memento or something, a souvenir. Like a signature mark.
Yeah. So there's a gimmick.
Yeah.
Then you want a detective who's maybe a bit charismatic. He might have a few problems and that,
He struggle
he plays by his own rules, but he's good at his job.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So that,
Yeah.
So I look at it, basic premise, serial killer.
To be fair, them premises seem to be quite successful.
Yeah,
well.
Oh, yeah, they do, yeah.
Well, it seems that this series really can't go wrong, really.
That's what I thought. Promise. Serial killer hasn't killed for 5 years, then there's another murder, and they're like, oh, God, he's back. Sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, wasn't. So if we go back and address my points, first of all, the serial killer didn't commit that murder, right? The new murder.
Right.
So the serial killer who's in the program, there's no mystery to it because he is straight away, right? And he doesn't really kill anyone. Well, he does right near the end, but by then I was completely bored, right? Gimmick. He did have a gimmick. He took girls' tattoos off them, so he cut the tattoos off. But to me, it was lazy. It was as if they'd made the program and said, "Oh, you're gonna have to give him a gimmick," and I just didn't like it. Now the main detective in it. Have you seen The Mummy?
Yeah.
And the bloke out The Mummy, I think he's called Bradley.
Yeah. Is it Brandon?
Oh yeah, maybe something like that. Well, the main detective, he looked like him, but then crossed with. Have you ever seen? Do you know Ricky out of EastEnders? Sid Owen.
Yeah.
Crossed with him, and then Chandler Bing. Like the three of them all crossed. It looked like him. He had an annoying voice, and he had OCD. But it's been done so many times.
What, like Monk?
OCD. No, Monk was good though, wasn't it? Yeah. This guy, he just had to brush his teeth so many times. So I suppose like Monk, but it was just lazy. The whole thing was lazy. Anyhow, so I watched it, and as I said, there was no murders going on, not going on at all, really.
Not even
no, it's just crap.
Teasing out.
Gets to episode 6, and there was all sorts of crap stuff in it. Like the detective's his main son. It was his son. Like this little kid, he had some sort of condition, like ADHD. But it lent nothing to the actual plot. There was no point. It was just annoying.
So he was just It was just a kid with ADHD, basically.
That's a spider up there.
Oh God.
God.
Oh crap.
Don't think it's going to come near us.
No, right.
I'll keep my eye on it.
Yeah.
Anyhow, yeah, so it was just really crap. Goes on, episode 6, and I think, well, I've watched all this. Might as well, see the end.
Yeah.
Episode 7, episode 8, kept going on and on and on. And then it got to episode 10, and I thought, this is definitely the last episode now.
And you was watching it?
Yeah. Checked. This is definitely the last episode. Nice one, I thought. Can get on with my life again. And the cheeky bleeders come to no conclusion. They've left it open for a season 2.
Oh.
I'm furious just thinking about it now. It was absolutely horrendous. So, anyway,
so poor.
Big warning, don't watch it.
I hate that. I hate when films end to make a sequel.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah. And it's like we wrote a script, didn't we, about a serial killer, which is destined for Netflix.
I mean, like the scripts we've wrote. I mean, yeah, you can get a sequel.
Yeah, but we're honest.
But we always have a conclusion.
Division, which it was called. We can say the name.
The art of an ending is to have the best endings have a conclusion, but potential to expand.
Yeah. Now, and at least we was honest. It's 6 episodes, isn't it? Ours?
Yeah.
Or was it 4? Can't remember. At least
what SharkFace you on? Or
no, I'm on about Division.
About 6 episodes a season. Yeah, we had 2 seasons, but 6 episodes a season. Yeah.
Anyway, so avoid that at all costs, right? However,
and what was the name again? Reckoning.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, terrible. Okay. Anyway, stumbled across something. Brilliant. Okay. You'll love it. You'll love it, right?
I hope it ain't the same as me.
Oh no, this was again. Series.
I wouldn't have been.
Heart to Heart, season 1, episode 6. Have you ever? It's called Death in the Slow Lane. Have you seen Heart to Heart?
Yeah, because that rings a bell. Is it like are they in Africa or something?
No, Heart to Heart. I'll explain it because it's quite an old program.
Love that.
And this is what I mean about signal. This is what I mean about signals from the universe. Now, obviously, we don't like to give personal information away, but if I tell you this episode, Death in the Slow Lane, episode 1, series
episode
6, season 1, Heart to Heart. It was broadcast, and the date that it was broadcast in the first broadcast, the date in the UK would have been the 14th of October 1979. So that's a bit weird.
Bloody hell, yeah, that's weird.
Really weird. Yeah. So I only found that out afterwards, and this is how I knew I have to review this. Now, what it is.
I mean, should we say why that is weird? Or?
No.
All right, okay.
Keep it secret.
They could probably guess.
I don't like the way that spider's disappeared.
Oh,
where it's gone.
Just keep focused, professional.
Anyway, well, Heart to Heart, I'll explain what it is first. It's an old program, and it's about this couple.
I'm sure I've seen this.
You will have done. You've
I've heard of it.
Monkey watches it all the time. I think that's how I stumbled across it, actually.
Right, okay.
And what it is, it's this couple called Jonathan and Jennifer Hart. But they're getting on a bit, 40s or whatever.
Right.
He's a billionaire, but he was actually an orphan, and he's a self-made billionaire, so you like him.
Oh, right.
You don't resent him for having the money. He didn't inherit it or anything. He made it.
Okay.
He started up this company called Hart Industries and made his money out of electronics, it said. And then now he's into everything.
Yeah.
And this couple, they've also got a butler called Max, who's this old guy.
Right.
And then they've got a dog called Freeway.
Right.
Now, every episode's very similar. Sort of starts with them in bed with the dressing gowns on, drinking champagne or whatever. You can tell they've just been at it.
Yeah.
They're constantly at it. I'm amazed they never had kids.
You watch a lot of series where they're at it.
I know. I'm amazed they never had kids, but I think they didn't meet till older because Jennifer,
right.
She used to be a
Is she like an old woman then?
Oh, good-looking woman.
Decent.
Yeah.
Oh,
decent.
right. Okay.
Yeah, check her out in a bit.
All right.
For her age and that.
Oh yeah. Not decent.
And again, like 70s, 80s, But yeah, lovely.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, so they never had kids, but she used to be a journalist, I think, before she met Jonathan.
Right.
And you'll love this. And they're always getting into like adventures.
Okay.
And they get into sort of too many adventures in a way, a bit like Murder, She Wrote.
Right.
You've seen that, haven't you?
Yeah.
So you get like Jessica Fletcher. And I actually looked into this once because I thought she gets in too many adventures.
Yeah.
And I looked into it, and there's been 264 episodes of Murder, She Wrote, plus 4 TV movies. And it was on for 12 years. So think about that. Do the maths. That's 22 murders a year. 22 murders a year.
That's pretty.
That's nearly every other week. Jessica Fletcher goes somewhere. She'll go on a cruise.
There's a murder.
There's a murder. Then she writes a book about it afterwards and sells the book.
Oh, how many books she wrote?
Well, 264 plus 4 TV movies. So, at what point, though, this is my point, is at what point does she become a suspect? Because,
yeah.
I mean, imagine J.K. Rowling went on holiday, somebody got murdered, wrote a book about it, you'd think, all right, fair enough. Happened twice, you'd think that's getting a bit dodgy. Happened 3 times, she'd be banged up, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, anyway, they're very much like that. Because everywhere they go, someone gets murdered or there's an adventure.
That's an interesting theory, actually.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. It was Jessica Fletcher doing it all along.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've often thought that. Well, these two always get themselves in bother. And this episode, it's brilliant. And it starts a bit different to others because, like I say, they're normally in bed, just being at it. And but this one, Jonathan's in London.
Right.
Because Hart Industries is merging with another company, and so he's there to oversee it. And it's coming up to Jennifer, getting mixed up with Mary. Jennifer's birthday. So he's in London and he's walking past this antique shop and he looks through the window and he thinks, oh, hang on a minute, look at that. There's this old car in the window. Nice. And it's like one of these old cars, from like 1900, which is more like a carriage that goes for I think that's why it's got death in the slow lane.
Okay.
Anyway, so as he's walking by, he goes in the shop. There's this old geezer who works in the shop. And he's like, oh, how much is this car? My wife will love it. And the fella's like, oh, £20,000. And Jonathan's like, what's that in dollars? And he's like, $40,000. That shows how strong the pound was back then. Mm. And I'm also surprised that Jonathan didn't know the exchange rate, because he's doing a merger of his company.
Yeah, that's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
A bit weird.
So anyway, he's sat in the car and he's like, oh, yeah, she's going to love this. And he's just about to say, I'll take it. And this other English couple come running in. And he's like wearing a bowler hat and all that. And the speaker real posh, like, like how Americans think. Yeah. They come in and the woman's like, oh, darling, I must have this car. And the fella's like, oh, I want to buy that car to the old man. And the old man's like, oh, I'm sorry, but this guy's just about to buy it, Jonathan. Yeah. And so I'll do the bartering in dollars because it's simpler. So the fella goes, oh, I'll give you $45,000 for it. And Jonathan's like, 50. And he's like, 55. And then Jonathan's shuts it down.
Like bidding.
He's like, 80. And the fella just like, he's like, oh, all right, yeah.
This Jonathan sounds like,
oh, he's cool dude.
Yeah.
And and then Jonathan, he's like, oh, he's in the car. He's like, gets out and he says to the couple, he goes, oh, and you'll like that. This is weird. He goes, oh, I'm sorry to be a heel.
Ah.
Now, I've never heard that term outside of wrestling.
Yeah, outside of wrestling.
But anyway, the woman goes, oh, I'll show you what a heel is. And she gets a stiletto and like stamps him on the foot. And so that was quite funny.
Yeah, that's a decent line.
And then they go, this couple, and as they go out, she's moaning at her husband or whoever he is.
Yeah.
She's going, why don't you keep going? And he says, oh, he's clearly a man of means. He goes, but don't worry, I've got a plan. And then they go off. And then Jonathan's to the old guy in the shop. The old guy's loving it because it's the most money he's ever made. He says to him, he goes, oh, get it shipped to my house in California. Gives him his details and Jonathan clears off. Now, a few hours later, the old guy's cashing up in the back. And he's cashing up, and this English couple come back in. And he's like, oh, we're shut. And he says, and it's only staff back here, customers out loud. Yeah. And the fella goes, sorry, old boy, gets a gun out, right? And then goes, we're going to need the address of that guy who bought the car.
Yeah.
So he goes, oh, it's over there. The woman goes, gets the address, bang, shoots him, merciless, right?
No beds.
Anyhow, next scene, it's obviously gone forward. A few days or weeks or whatever, and it's Jennifer's birthday, and she gets up in the morning and she's like, "Oh, what you got me for my birthday?"
Yeah. How old is she?
Probably about 40.
Not bad age.
Anyway, Jonathan gives her like the invoice thing. No, the invoice. It's like, "Oh, I've got to go to a meeting to sort out this merger with the London branch."
All right.
And he says, get Max to take you, the butler. Yeah. Get him to take you to the docks. Give him that, and you'll get your present. She's like, oh, okay, I'll meet you later on then. So Max takes to the docks, and sure enough, there's a big wooden box there, crate, open it, and it's this car. Jennifer's like, ugh, don't even like cars. Bit ungrateful. We've just spent all that. But she's like, I'm not even bothered about cars. She's like, Jonathan's got this for himself, not for me.
Yeah.
So they start driving it home real slow, and it clonks out, completely breaks down. And so she rings Jonathan, and Jonathan's like, "Oh, I'll get my mechanic to come." The mechanic comes, has a look at it, and the mechanic's like, "You've been ripped off here, Jonathan. It's brand new. All the parts are brand new." And Jonathan's like, "Oh God," So they go back home, and Jonathan's like trying to ring the shop, but of course the bloke's dead, right?
Ah, yeah.
They can't get through. Jennifer's at him, this is, what sort of a birthday is this?
Yeah,
and he's saying to her, "What more do you want me to do? I'm trying to get through,
I sympathise with him a bit. I mean, he's trying his hardest.
Yeah. And then there's a knock at the door,
really
or actually a doorbell goes.
Right.
And they go to the door. Jonathan, actually, they always answer the door together, which is interesting.
Yeah, it is.
And so they open the door, that English couple at the door. And what made me laugh is Jonathan doesn't even bat an eyelid. He's like, "Oh, yeah, come in." Like if you bumped into someone in America, and then they just knocked on your door.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But so he actually knew who there was?
Oh, yeah. He's like, "Oh, yeah.
Come in.
Yeah, come in, yeah." So they go in, they all get a brandy, and they're all sat round. And the woman's like to Jennifer, she's like, "Oh, I hope you liked your car."
I mean, Jonathan sounds like a nice guy, but that's not too nice.
Yeah.
That's borderline stupid.
Yeah. But then, the woman's like, "Oh, I hope you like your car." And Jennifer's like, "Well, it's a bit crap, actually." And so the fella goes, "I'll give you $100,000 for it now." Jennifer's like, "Yeah, definitely." Jonathan's a bit smarter, though, because he's like a businessman.
Well, yeah, Jonathan knows what he's doing, doesn't he?
He's like, "Hang on a minute. Give me a couple of days and I'll get back to you." And so they're like, "Oh, yeah, okay." Then they get going. Then outside the house, the woman goes to the fella. She's like, "Oh, we haven't got a couple of days. We've got to get the car." And they go walking out. And then you see this bloke in a van across the road, never seen him before, looking at this couple. And then they wander off. Then Jennifer's like, "What are you doing, Jonathan? Could have made 20 grand there, and it's crap."
Yeah.
Jonathan's like, "Something about this car. We've got to find out what it is. We'll have a look tomorrow." Don't know why they didn't look now, but have a look tomorrow. Yeah. So they go to bed, probably to, as they always do. Now, in this bit, I have to confess something. I did nod off for a bit. So, as is probably most of the audience, but I did nod off, but I was tired and it hadn't really gripped me by this bit, but it gets good, trust me, it gets good. Because it sort of woke me up because it got so good. Right. Now, I think what happened was, the great plan they had was to come back on the night and nick the car. So they did that.
They had to go away to make
Yeah, great plan, yeah. They come back on the night. And so, as I say, I was nodded off a bit, but Jonathan went out to fight them, and I forgot to tell you, Jonathan's an expert fighter, right?
Now, he can do everything.
Oh, yeah.
He can do absolutely everything, Jonathan.
Reminds me a bit of me.
Yeah.
But he sort of fought him. Now, I don't watch James Bond, don't you?
No.
But
would you watch Jonathan if James Bond was called
It would have been a good Bond. Would have been a good Bond. Yeah. But how I don't watch Bond, but I love a good Roger Moore fight.
Right.
And that's because it's clearly not Roger Moore fighting. It's always from the back and it's about 4 inches tall and it's suddenly a karate expert. Yeah. That's exactly how Jonathan fights. He becomes a karate expert. So he fights him off, and then he's like to Jennifer and Max, he's like, "There's definitely something weird about this car. We're going to have a look now. Sort it out right now."
I thought they was going to have a look anyway.
Yeah, well, the next day, but I think they went to go.
Oh, I bet they again.
Yeah. So anyway, the next scene, they're in the garage. Now, this interested me because they're all wearing custom-made overalls. Even Jennifer, and she doesn't like cars. So where did she get that from? That interested me.
Maybe the birthday present.
It didn't specify the amount of time in between, so they could have got a boy, I suppose, but it's the middle of the night. Yeah. But in any case,
she might have got it when you nodded off.
Yeah, could have done. Yeah, I missed that bit. Yeah. Taking the car to pieces, and they strip it completely down, and they're looking at it and they're like, "It's just a normal car. There's now here. There's no drugs. There's no gold. There's no rubies.
No rubies.
Not like that.
Well, if there's no ruby, what's the point?
No rubies, yeah. Not like that. And they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" Max, the butler, goes to him. He goes, "Oh, I'm going to go make some sandwiches." And Jonathan says to him, "Yeah, good idea. While you're in there, see if we've got a manual how we put it back together." So that was quite funny.
Yeah.
Max wanders off back to the house. And then this is another sign why I thought this was a good thing to review. Jennifer's looking at all the components, and it's got Greek letters on it. Alpha, Omega, things like that. That come up in the last review. And she goes, "Oh, I wrote an article about this before." This is the bit you love. I wrote an article about this before, and what the Greek builders used to do is used to match up the letters, and that used to tell them how to build things.
Okay.
Jonathan's like, "I've got an idea."
He doesn't know Greek, does he?
No, he doesn't know Greek, but he had the idea. And I think she'd already thought of it. put the omega to the omega and the alpha to the alpha and put it together like that rather than back as a car. So they do it.
Right.
Then the next scene goes into the next scene and they've reassembled the entire thing. And it's like a big, tall structure now. Yeah, according to the Greek letters. Big, tall structure. This bit fascinated me because Max went back from making the sandwiches.
How long was... There must have been a big sandwich.
They put together a full car.
Maybe he was trying to find the manual.
I don't know. I mean, he's an old guy and I think they overwork him, so he probably had a nap maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, they've done it and it's like this big, tall structure and the bonnet's like on the top and on like a pole and then the steering wheel's sticking out the side. And Jonathan's like, what is it, modern art? She's like, oh, I don't know. She goes, why didn't you switch the engine on? So they clearly reassemble the engine even. He's like, oh, yeah, all right. Switches the engine on and it starts going boop, 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 like that.
Bomb.
No. She goes, turn the steering wheel. Turns the steering wheel and it's like a satellite dish. And then they start listening into all like Navy bases and stuff. And they're like, whoa, God, what's going on here? You know, brilliant. Told you you'd love that bit. And then what happens is that guy, you know, I said was in the van earlier, he comes wandering in. And so like, oh yeah, what are you doing here? He goes, don't worry. He says, I'm on your side. Gets his badge out, CIA. So like, all right. He goes, them two, you know, been to your house and stuff, Russian spies, and we've been following them to see what this car is and why they're interested, and you've solved the problem. So like, oh yeah, nice one. And then the CIA guy goes, I've just left something in the van. I won't be a minute. Goes out, and then Jonathan and Jennifer, they're like hugging and have a kiss and that.
Probably gonna have their way.
He goes, well, yeah. He goes back to the van. Useless CIA agent opens the back of the van, gets in it. This English couple up there just like shut the door and lock him in.
Where did he get straight?
Yeah. And then so they're like hugging and that, Jonathan and Jennifer, and they're like, oh, let's have an early retirement. Sorry, old boy.
Oh,
you're not going to live that long.
No way.
So the couple come in pointing the gun at him. And like, oh, no.
I think I know what's going to happen here.
Well, this is the amazing bit. The fella like walks towards him with a gun. What he's forgotten is Jonathan's karate expert. And he gets a bit too close, so Jonathan just kicks the gun out his hand.
Does it flip in there and land in Jonathan's hand?
Yeah, well, yeah. They just like tie him up or something.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the last scene, and they're both laid on the bed in their dressing gowns, sipping champagne. I think they're about to do it. Maybe, or they might have just done it, with knowing them, probably both. And then Jonathan like makes a joke. They both laugh, freeze frame, end of it. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely.
I thought the end was going to be like, he's pointing the gun at Jonathan, he's about to pull it, and the butler comes back.
No.
Hits him over the head. That would be, surely.
No, Jonathan just kicks it out his hand.
There's no suspense. There's just no suspense, isn't there? It's just no nonsense.
So let's do the Rotten Tomatoes thing. Two things what I've just said. Now, am I predicting what they got? Or shall I say?
So we'll go reckoning first. So what reckoning would have got?
Well, I would give it 0, but I think there's enough thick people in the world to give it 32.
32.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing here.
Don't think it's even rated. Oh, hang on. Don't think it's even rated.
It says on Google 88% like this.
Oh God.
So, I'll type in Rotten Tomatoes and we'll see.
Yeah.
This is, Rotten Tomatoes. As anyone listening will know, this is the official source.
63. Nah.
That's the audience.
Yeah.
There's no.
Well, no, because any critic worth the salt would not watch that.
Yeah. There isn't.
Yeah. All right, and I don't think you'll get a rating for Heart to Heart.
I'll be
season
surprised.
1, episode 6, but Heart to Heart as a whole, I'm going to give it 92%. Oh, that's my prediction. No, it's not even on.
He looks like a Bond. He looks like a Bond.
Yeah, Robert Wagner, it's called. There we go.
Series 1?
Oh no, that's Dark Heart.
Dark Heart. Heart to Heart. Oh, 2010.
Well,
we'll go off the users. We'll go off the Google thing, whatever it is. Well, IMDb, that's a good source.
Well, 91% of users like this show. I said 92.
IMDb 6.6 out of 10.
It's a bit tight. It was really good.
It's tight, isn't it? Obviously, I haven't seen that episode.
No,
probably.
No.
But anyway, I've got my film.
Oh yeah, all right, yeah.
So I mean, this week I had 2 films again. Because I mean, I just watch quality, and it's hard to put one quality thing over the other. But I think this week
You got 2, have
you? Yeah, this week.
Do an honourable mention.
I'm not going to go through 2.
No,
I'll just do an honourable mention like I did last week. But this week I'm going to go with Uncut Gems. Adam Sandler.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's Adam Sandler.
I started watching it. I thought it was crap.
I thought it was real good.
Yeah.
Obviously a bit. I mean, it was a bit slow at first. But basically, the premise of it is, I mean, it's one of them. It's one of them films where there's nothing really to dig out of it.
Well,
I don't think there's no meaning. It's just really, there's no meaning. Like Shutter Island, like last week, that was a meaning. There was a meaning behind that. There was a message that was put out. Yeah. With this film, it's just a story, a nice story, and it makes you feel good until the last very moment, and it shocks you. And I liked it. I really liked it. Basically, I mean, so it's about this guy. Can't remember his name. Just call him Sandler.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler plays him. And this like Sandler guy is like a Jew, right?
Yeah.
But he's like he owns like a pawn shop.
Yeah. So
he's got this shop and that, and he's got like a lot of stuff in it, like quite expensive stuff. But he's always in debt. He's in a lot of debt, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but he's sort of one of them guys who you like him. He's a bit of an idiot. He's cheating on his wife and that. He's got a family, but he's actually really caring for his family as well. Like he loves his daughters and his daughter and his son. He's always there, but he just can't help himself with the beds. Yeah, that's the thing. And he's always in debt. I mean, but he tries to get out of it. But when he tries to get out of it, he ends up putting like a bet on to win more money.
Right.
And then just ends up going back to like it's all like a cycle.
Circle.
Yeah. Anyway, so these like guys who want some money come up to him and they're like, where's my money? Sort it out. And he's like, oh, I'll get it done. I'm sorry, I'll get it done. Anyway, one day this guy comes in to the shop, one of his mates, with his basketball player. Now, I can't remember his name. It's can't remember his name. But like this pro basketball. Yeah, this pro NBA basketball player. He's got a bit of cash on him. He's willing to buy something decent. So, like they're showing him around the shop, they're showing him the best bits, showing him like what's the most expensive item they've got and that. Hoping that he'd buy something.
Was it an antique car?
No, it wasn't an antique car. That was a satellite. Yeah. It was. Sandler goes, oh, actually, I'll show you this that I've got. It's just come now. Brings out this box and that. Well, actually, it's a fish. What? Brings out this fish.
Like a diamond fish?
No, it's just a fish.
Rubies,
no, just a normal fish. He's like, oh, fish. What
like a koi car. They can be expensive, actually.
Well, you think, what are you buying this fish for? Cuts it open.
What?
Jewel inside.
A real live fish?
No, not like I don't know if it was live. Well, it was out of the water, wasn't it? So it's probably dead.
Like a stuffed fish?
Yeah.
Taxidermy?
No, it's like a real fish, but it was just like a... I don't know if I've made that bit up. Nah, it definitely did happen. There's like a... Because I remember thinking, what's he got a fish for? But then there was like a jewel inside. And it's like a real like... And
the fish swallowed the jewel?
I don't know. But he said it was from like Ethiopia. And it was like, there was in the mines and that. And they're like real expensive. But he'd like paid like $100,000 for it. And he said it's worth like $2 million. So he goes, he's got this Wooby, whatever. And he like gives it to this basketball player. He's like, have a look at that. It's got all these different gems in it. He's like, have a feel. How's it going? What are you thinking? And this basketball player's loving it.
Does he cut it open in front of the basketball player?
I think he might go into the back and do it, and then bring the jewel out, because that's not a very good. No, that's not a very good strategy.
When he was buying it as well,
sink a fish.
Did he put the jewel inside the fish, or did the bloke who sold him it say, "Buy this fish, there's a jewel inside of it"? Do you know what I mean?
No, he took the like jewel thing out of the fish and then give him it.
Yeah.
So he takes it out. I don't really know why the fish thing happened. I didn't get it. I think that's just because
if your house
I think that they needed to transport it across from Ethiopia to. I think it was smuggled. Like it was smuggled. Yeah. So they smuggled it in a fish. Right. Anyway, so he gets this Wooby out, and he's like, "Oh, have a look at this. How do you feel?" And he's like, the basketball player's loving it. He's like, "This is unbelievable." He's like looking in it, and it's like making him feel like real good and that. It's like a drug. He's like making him feel proper pumped up. He's like. he's like, Sandler, I've got to borrow this. I need this for the game tonight. Got a big game tonight. He's like, I can't let you borrow that. I really want to, and it's real expensive. I can't let you have that. And he's like, Sandler, you brought me into the shop. You've shown me that. Why did you show me it in the first place? And he's like, I'm sorry. Yeah, all right, yeah, take it. Just for one night, but I need it back. He went, I'll tell you what, I'll give you my NBA ring.
Yeah.
He gives him his NBA ring, and he said, you keep that, I'll take that, and when I bring that back, I'll have the ring back. He's like, fair enough. So he gives him the ring straight away. As soon as the basketball player leaves with this jewel thing, he's like, right, goes down to this place, and he's like, I want to pawn this. Pawns this ring. Pawns the ring straight away. Gets like 30 grand for it or whatever. So he's like, all right then, pawns it and that. And it's like 30 grand. And goes off. And anyway, I think he puts a bet on,
Right.
Again, and he's trying to put a bet on.
On the NBA game that the bloke's playing in.
Yeah, it does. And it comes in, I think. But he still hasn't paid back these guys. And it turns out the guys he's trying to pay back are his brother-in-law.
Was robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Well, and it turns out he's his brother-in-law. So he's like, oh yeah, and they're at like family meetings. Like, it's a bit weird because when they're at like family meetings, obviously there's like an elephant in the room between them two because no one knows. Everyone's just having a good time, like, how's like Brenda, whatever, how is she, how are you doing? But like Adam Sandler's like sat there and his brother-in-law's like on the other side, and they're like looking at each other, like,
Does he owe him money? Did he say?
Yeah, Sandler owes his brother some money.
Yeah,
and he's like,
brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law, and they're like, bit tense and that. Anyway, he's it moves on from there, and he's like, I've got this. I'm gonna skip out all like the bits that I didn't really like think was important.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like, it goes off, and he's like, he has like a few things with beds and that in the room, and goes to a nightclub and stuff.
Well, like strippers, you get loads of them around.
No, the people who actually, there's one who works in the pawn shop. Actually, she's quite an attractive woman.
Oh, is she?
That's all I'd say there. But yeah, and there's this other woman who's pretty attractive as well.
Yeah.
And she's like in a nightclub, and he finds her cheating on him and stuff, and he's like, I'm sick of this. And he has a big thing, and has a big fight with The Weeknd. He's called. He's like an artist, a singer now.
Oh yeah. In real life.
No, that wasn't in real. That was in the film.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so
just the way you said it sounded as if.
Oh yeah, well that's what I mean. It was like it was real. I don't actually know if it's based on a true story, but if it was, I'd be surprised. Anyway, so this guy is like, there's a bit where it goes to his son's, his daughter's play, and the brother-in-law comes, but he's got his henchman with him.
Oh yeah.
And he's like watching, and he like looks around, he can see them all. He's like, oh god. So he like leaves, he like walks out the thing to go to the toilet.
Well, I mean, if it's his brother-in-law, he's been messing about on his sister as well.
It pegs it. It pegs it, right?
Pegs it.
Yeah, Sandler
dies.
No, like pegs it as in run. Like,
right, okay. I said peg it when you die.
Oh no, that's what I said. All right, he
Scarpers.
Leaves the scene. He's like, I've got to get out of here. Anyway, these henchmen are chasing him. They catch up to him outside, take all his clothes off, throw him in his own boot, and he's got like his phone in the boot, and he's like, that's quite handy. And he's like,
always leave a phone in the boot.
Yeah, that's your tip for you this week. Tip of the week: always leave a phone in your boot in case someone kidnaps you and puts you in. Anyway, he rings his wife.
And if you are in a boot, what you have to do is just kick the back light out, and the cops will stop him.
No, but he wasn't moving.
Okay, yeah.
He was in his own car in the car park.
Right.
So, but he's naked because he took all his clothes. And he's like, can you come help me? I'm in the boot. And, she comes out and, like, lifts the boot up, and then he's like, naked, gets out, and his wife's like, I'm sick of this and stuff. And he's like, I'm sorry, it's fine though, it's fine, I'll sort it, it's fine. Anyway, as it goes on, and that, they get to the auction.
Yeah.
Right. And, the auction's like for this jewel.
The fish jewel.
Oh yeah, sorry, I missed a bit out. The basketball player comes back and he's like, he wants this
fish
jewel back. Yeah, and he's like,
but he'll want his ring, won't he?
Yeah, and the jewel's like, he's like, I love it. I need to buy this. I need to buy it. He went, there's an auction coming up. Buy it at the auction. He's like, can't I buy it now? He's like, no, you need to buy it at the auction. So he was like, fair enough. Okay. So anyway, he's like, he brings his jewel back to him, and he's like, "Have you got my ring?" Don't have the ring.
No.
So he's like, "Oh God, I ain't got the ring. I'm so sorry, I ain't got the ring." He's like, "Why ain't you got the ring?" And it all kicks off. So he takes the jewel and he goes. So he's still got this jewel, and he needs it for the auction that's coming up. Right. It's like on the Monday. This is like on the Friday. You know what I mean? So he's only got a few days. Anyway, he sorts a load of stuff out, manages to get it back, goes to the auction, and he's like, put it up for like $1 million or whatever. Anyway, the woman looks at it, and their expert had a look at it, and was like, "They reckon it'll go for 200 grand."
What?
$200,000. I mean, he still made profit, to be fair. But I mean,
is it worth the effort of smuggling it across from me for you?
I mean,
fish for 100 grand.
But to be fair, he needs the money. So anyway, he's like, he's trying to boost it up, but it won't work. Anyway, his dad comes along to the auction with him. Now then, the basketball player walks
Who's dad?
Sandler's dad. Sandler's dad comes along to the auction with him. Now they're in the auction room. He's going like, who's bidding on this and that. Anyway, he's like, says to his dad, "This basketball player's here. He really wants this. He'll pay big bucks. Big bucks for this."
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think it was. Yeah. So they start at about 150. They're going up like 160, 70, 80. The dad's like really raising it up. But he's like, Sandler's like, keep doing it. The basketball players, he will bid on this. Gets to 190. The dad bids on 190. The basketball player looks at his like financial advisor, I'm guessing it was.
Yeah.
And she's like,
cut it. Yeah.
Cut it.
Yeah.
Shakes her head.
A signal.
So this basketball player's like, "No, I'm out." His dad ends up winning the bid, 190 grand. So now Sandler owes his dad 190 grand.
Oh God. Goes from bad to worse, doesn't it?
Goes from bad to worse, and and you feel sorry for him because and then he goes and gets beat up outside because he doesn't have the money for his brother-in-law.
Yeah, what a day.
So you feel bad for him in that. And anyway, the ending, spoilers by the way, but the ending was pretty good, I thought. So what happens is he goes back to his shop and that, and they're like, I've had a real bad day and that.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
And goes on a bit, and then his brother-in-law turns up at the shop, right? But it's just as the basketball player comes back to the shop, because Sandler rings the basketball players up. He's like, "Look, I've got the thing again. You can have it. 160 he throws on the table. So a bit cheaper, gives him a bit of a discount. Yeah. And he's like, "All right, yeah." So he comes in and he gives him like 160, and he's like, he's a bit pissed off because he's like, "What's going on? You've took the jewel off me in the bid. You're trying to raise the bid. You're doing me over here. What's going on?" And he's like, "I'm sorry. I've got to sort this out." And he said, "Look, you've got it now. That's all that matters. I'm really sorry. I'm a huge fan of stuff like that." And the basketball player's like, "How much was it worth? How much did you pay for it?" And he was like, "Look, I can't give you them figures. Like, how much did you do it?" And he's like, 100,000. And he's like, "So you're ripping me off even more. I can't believe this." And he was like, "Oh well, I've got to make money and sort of that." So the basketball player sort of sympathises with him, and he's like, "All right then," gives him the money and that. Checks the jewel. He's like, "Nice one." So he's got like money to pay his brother-in-law now. So his brother-in-law comes in.
What about his dad? Got the money to pay him or not?
He has. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. No, he hasn't. Yeah. He's got to pay his brother-in-law and his dad, but obviously his dad's not going to be like wanting to batter him and stuff. But he can pay the brother-in-law back to stop him battering. Instead of choosing to pay his brother-in-law back, who's at the door with his henchman ready to get in and get him.
Yeah.
He's thinking that basketball player's bought that jewel and he's playing tonight.
Oh no!
And he's been playing crap recently because he hasn't had the jewel.
Yeah.
So he puts a bet on again for like all his money that he's got for this jewel.
He deserves all he gets, really.
And puts the bet on, and it says like if it comes in, it's like 1.2 million, right? But the henchman, he can't get out of his office because the henchmen are like at the door, right? So the woman who works there, the woman who works there, she's like, "Oh, I'll sort this out. What I'll do is I'll go around to the other room and I'll like get out the window, right? Yeah. And then you throw me the bag with the money in, right? And then she'll catch it, take it in, go around there, and then like get out the building. Yeah. And the henchman won't even know. Yeah. So they do that, right? Anyway, she goes off, and they come in, and they're like, "Where's my money and stuff?" And But there's a bit where like the woman like walks out and there's like they're off the toilet and stuff, and there's a bit like a joke.
Toilet.
She says, "Oh, I'm off the toilet."
Oh,
She
yeah,
goes to the
yeah,
bathroom
yeah.
and stuff. And there's a bit of a joke, a bit where the henchmen are like, "Oh, can we come with you?" and stuff like that. You know, trying to like,
Yeah.
poke fun at her and stuff. Because she's like an attractive woman and that.
Mm.
And she's like, "Oh yeah."
Oh, this is the attractive one.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, "Oh, whatever."
Mm.
Anyway, goes out, gets the money, runs off, gets on a plane. He's booked a plane for her to go to this place to put the bet on.
Right? Has he been
messing
about with this woman?
Yeah, he has, yeah. And anyway, she goes to the bookies anyway, but the henchmen clock onto that, right? So they're like, "Oh, hang on," because their discovery ain't got the money. He's like, "The woman's got the money, because they know the basketball player's just been in. So they said they must have the money. The woman's got the money, he's putting the bet on or whatever. So they go try and get the woman, but she's putting the bet on. So she manages to get the bet on, right? But there's this old geezer, right, who's there, and he's like, coming in, and he's like thinking he's like the big stuff and that. He sees this woman, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're beautiful and stuff like that." He's like, "Oh, come back to my apartment and stuff." And she's like, "Oh yeah, all right." So she goes. And they don't do any funny business her out. She just wants to get away from these henchmen, these goons. That
yeah.
So she gets the bet. She gets in there. And anyway, she's watching the game, right? She's watching it. She's like, "Oh yeah, what's going on here?" And meanwhile, back in the shop, Sandler's managed to get the henchmen trapped in a door.
Right.
There's a door, right?
Yeah.
And then there's like a bit of a gap, and there's another door that you have to go into to get the shop. So they've got
security door.
Yeah. He's got them in the security door.
I believe it's actually called a man trap.
A man trap. Then he's got them in a man trap, right? And he's trying to. They're trying to get in, and they're like stuck in this thing, and they're like, "Oh, once I get out of here, I'm gonna kill you," and stuff like that. And he's like, "Just watch the game, watch the game." So he puts the game on the big screen, and he's like watching it. And his brother-in-law's just sat there with his goons watching it.
In the man trap?
Yeah, in the man trap.
So is it like clear glass?
Yeah, it's clear glass, so they're watching it and that, and they're like, "Oh, God, he's put this bet on, it better come in, it won't come in." And anyway, this basketball player goes and plays really well, wins the bet, comes in, 1.2 million, he's like, "Yes, it's coming. The brother-in-law's like, "Oh my God, it's coming. Like, they're all like celebrating. Anyway, it happens to the security door, one of the goons comes out, walks straight up to a Sandler, shoots him in the head.
Oh, you're joking?
Turns around. His brother-in-law's like, "What you done? What have you done?" He points a gun at him. He's like, "You shut up. Get this shop held up." Holds up the shop. Robs the full shop. Right. And then shoots the brother-in-law as well. Right. And then this woman's won this bet.
She's won the bet as well.
She's won the bet. So she's got the ticket. The attractive one's got the ticket.
Yeah.
But then it's like you're thinking, well, what's going to happen to her? Because she'll just come back, go to the shop, find his brother dead or whatever.
Yeah.
But she's got about 1.2 million on a bet here.
Right.
She's put on.
Yeah.
So she'll be like a millionaire now.
Oh, I'm glad.
And then there's like a shot where he's like, family's at home, and he's like, he's like, son's like gutted and that.
Well, I've got to be honest. I think that
pretty good though.
If Sandler's going to be messing about doing that, he wouldn't have kept the money anyway. He'd just put it on the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. But then he had enough money to like pay back his like.
Yeah, but then he would have been
gambling. He paid back his like dad and that, and he sorted himself out, I think.
Well, I'll be honest. I've started watching that before, and I turned it off. And I'll tell you why I turned it off, because it was getting on my nerves, and it was getting on my nerves because it's real weird. It's like everybody talks at the same time.
Yeah.
And
I do know what you mean. I know what you mean, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film. Yeah. But I mean, I had an honourable mention though.
Oh yeah.
Didn't I?
Last time your honourable mention was better than your main film. So
do you think?
It might be this time. Well, it was rated higher. American Beauty. Shutter Island was only like 60%.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. So what's your honourable mention? I say I had a dishonourable mention, didn't I?
My honourable mention was it was
what's it about?
It was hang on. Forgot.
You should write stuff down or plan a bit better.
Come to me.
Who was in it? Maybe best save it for next time.
Yeah, I forgot it.
Well, anyway, let's see what this Uncut Gems.
It might come to.
I'll tell you what. I'll give Uncut Gems a rating because I've seen some of it, and I would give it. You see, I obviously trust your reviews, and if you said it was good, I trust you. But I thought it
good performance
started off a bit.
Actually.
Yeah, well, do you know what? Maybe he'd be better off sticking to serious things. I don't find him very funny in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it 50%.
I don't know why I take 50%. I'm going to give it. I think it was better than 50. I'd give it. I'd say Shutter Island was better, but that was 68.
Yeah.
So it'd probably be rated higher than that. I'd say 80.
Go on then. You're not typing.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'd give it 80, I think. It was a good film. I enjoyed it. 92?
92? Seems a bit high. Scroll down a bit. Let's see if the attractive woman's there.
That one.
Oh, yeah, she's attractive. Julia Fox. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the film came to me.
Oh, yeah, what was it?
The Honourable Mention. I watched Truman Show.
Oh, yeah, I watched that the other week.
Great, innit?
Great film.
Great film. And, I won't go into too much detail, but if anyone hasn't seen it, probably a lot of people will have, because it's quite a famous film.
Yeah.
But basically, about got Jim Carrey in it.
Yeah.
And it's about Truman, who I remember now.
Truman.
Yeah, because it's like, I remember his name, the character, because it's called it. In
yeah. That's handy,
so Truman, anyway, he like lives his life and that, and like the same things like go on every day, basically, don't they? And like he's drinking, But it's like the perfect life, basically. Nothing ever goes wrong, does it?
That happens with me, because there's this bloke who lives around here. Obviously, I don't want to give away where I live, but if we say the housing estate on which I live, there's this little Chinese fella who constantly walks around, and every time, I don't go out a lot, do I? But every time I go out anywhere, honest to God, it's the same little Chinese fella, and he walks real slow, and he's constantly on the streets. And I thought to myself, it reminds me of, like Grand Theft Auto, when you just get to see the same people over and over again.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that. So,
well, that's like Truman Show, essentially.
Yeah,
because like the same things are happening. There's like you said.
We haven't got time for an in-depth review.
No. But like basically, like the same things are happening in that, and it turns out that there's this guy who's like he sees him every day, and nothing ever goes wrong. His life's like perfect. And he starts thinking, hang on. What's going on here? A few things, like weird things start happening. Like, he sees like extras, like having like a coffee break and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like on a set.
And every time he tries to leave the town,
something happens. Traffic jam comes, or like an hurricane comes, or something like that. So he tries to think, hang on, what's weird? Something's going on here. It turns out his full life's a reality TV show.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I think a lot of people think. I mean, they could be in a reality TV show themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, great film. So
highly recommended. In fact, I would say the recommendation of the week is Heart to Heart, Series 1, Episode 6. That's by far the best thing.
Yeah.
In terms of quality of programme. You won't watch out better than that.
No.
You'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I'll check it out, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, there was the film of the week for you.
Second best would be Truman Show.
Yeah.
Third best.
I don't know, I like some good gems. But
yeah, I'm not keen. But then definitely the worst is Reckoning. Don't watch it.
Don't watch Reckoning. Go watch to our episode 6.
Season 1.
Episode 6, season 1.
6, yeah. Death in the Slow.
Go watch Uncut Gems, see what you think of it. Definitely watch Truman Show if you haven't already. Great film. And in fact, we'll have a look. What do you think Truman Show got?
I think it got 84.
I think it got 77. 95.
I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all.
It is a good film.
I thought it might be a bit lower because some people just probably weren't ready for
maybe
like
not.
That,
yeah, 96 it came out.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, really good film.
Pleased with that.
Anyway, we'll give you the films. Go watch it. We've also give you a film.
We're overrunning,
Yeah. We've also give you a film not to watch, so don't watch that.
Yeah.
Or watch it and then.
Well, it's a series. Just don't watch it.
Yeah, just don't watch it, basically.
Yeah. I can't recommend highly enough that you do not watch Reckoning. But we're gonna have to get off, aren't we? I think.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, you got the outro sorted.
Yeah, I'll sort that out. Yeah, we've given you the films and that. So yeah, it's been episode 2.
Yeah, and they're not all going to be this long. It's just it's been like 2 weeks.
Yeah, we've had a lot to
pack in.
We've had a lot to pack in.
But
thanks for listening if you have anyway. And we've been Elbis and Elbis. You've been well class.
Quality.